Hey everybody, welcome back to B-Roll, podcast where we pull back the curtain on building teams, tech, and tools that help you put your message in motion. I'm your host, Mike Wong, sometimes referred to as the Cue Card Commander, and today we're diving into a topic that's equal parts exciting and a little uncanny. Today's question, are avatars the future of communication, or are they just another digital gimmick destined for the uncanny graveyard? To help unpack it all, I'm joined today by the strategist, Brent, Vitable's CEO and head of product, Tommy Furious Fingers Fotak, our CTO, part-time philosopher and full-time builder. Also joining us is Leah, our resident wordsmith and the person most likely to roast a bad avatar script. And making his debut on B-Roll, we have the man behind the pixels, Simon Westlake, our design lead and the mastermind behind the avatars you see in our product. Let's just jump right in. Simon, when you see a lifelike avatar delivering a message, say from a CEO or in a training video, what's your gut reaction? Does it build trust, or does it feel like something's just a little bit off?
Yeah, it depends obviously on the context, and I'm sure we'll jump into that. But it's, if it's feels real and it's training material, I'm happy with that. I think that's fine. If it's an advert, I think that's fine. So yeah, definitely context dependent.
Okay. Brent, how about you? Like when do you think avatars are appropriate and when are they not?
So I have some pretty strong views on this as someone who has to communicate to lots of different stakeholders and has experimented over the years, especially within Vitable. We use a lot of videos, obviously. I think that the thing that the communicator or the whole relationship of the communication has to factor in to decide, is an avatar appropriate? Is just text appropriate? Is live video, is in person critical? There's a bunch of parts of the equation. The most important are the person or people delivering the message, what they can do well, like what they want to get out of, why are they sending that message? The audience, how is the audience going to receive the message? And as you connect those things, it's like, what is the person delivering the message? Why are they doing it? What do they want to happen? What emotion do they want to get out of the audience? And then what are the ways to do that? The different mediums, you can send an email, you can send a Slack message, you can record a video and share it, you can have a Zoom call and deliver it, you can deliver it in person, you can do it one-on-one, all those things. So it's thinking through what's appropriate to get the reaction and get the message to stick and hit, and how do you do that? So kind of backing up, like where avatar is appropriate, I'll use just two starkly different examples. If there's a individual performance problem at work or someone who's going to be let go, how do you do that? Can you send, if you're delivering that message, that's not a fun message to deliver, it's not a fun message to receive. Maybe the easiest way to do it is send an email in the middle of the night and walk away. That's not human and probably against any culture that any good organization would want to have, and not effective, right? It doesn't give a chance to interact, ask questions, all that kind of stuff. So as you work through the scale, is an avatar appropriate? An avatar honestly might be worse than an email in the middle of the night. And so it's just thinking through like, okay, in person is traditional and helpful. It's human, providing an update, a short message in text so someone can react and sort of digest, or to recap it along with like a chance to talk about it. So it's thinking through those things. If you go a different example, a CEO or leadership team giving a company strategy update or getting people excited about what we're doing for the next 2 quarters, email is not going to cut it. In person is great, but like some combination of like some recordings of someone, some people may not deliver a message live or miss their speaking points sometimes, and you need that clarity to align people. But that's a message where you probably want to deliver it in a more live setting, could be partially recorded, could use an avatar to hype some stuff up in different pieces. follow it up with sort of Slack messages, slides, images, other videos, examples, but it's like thinking through all the different pieces of communication. So what I would say to the broader topic, there's a place for everything. Avatar is a new tool that people have, but that you still have to work through the same progression of like, what are you trying to deliver? What feelings are you trying to evoke? And is this going to be successful? And you have to mix it up.
Yeah, I think, one example people may have seen is the Zoom CEO did a quarterly earnings call, and he did it as an avatar, right? And I think ostensibly that might have been possibly to hype their new feature they're adding, right? Where like, you can create an avatar in Zoom of yourself and have that deliver short recorded messages. But I think it's just interesting that it's kind of evolving, because I never would have thought of that, medium or that forum of like, you need to have a lot of trust in a quarterly earnings call, and you're doing it with an AI avatar. But definitely that is probably better than, that's a better use case than firing somebody, right? For sure. Leah, do you think that there is any kind of, from your perspective, if you're on the receiving end, what's your opinion? Somebody who might be getting something like from Brent, like, a CEO giving a message. What's your take on that?
Has used them occasionally in like updates. And I think the thing I appreciate is that you almost always use the animated ones. I like the animated ones. The animated ones are cutie patootie. They're like not unsettling anyway. The ones that I don't vibe with as much are the more lifelike ones. They have a very unsettling aura to me. And I'd like don't look at me. Don't look me in the eye is the feeling that I get from lifelike avatars. But the animated ones I think are fun. It's a interesting and a relatively easy way to make a video message look good and engaging, and Brent doesn't have to stand in front of the camera and talk. So I quite like them, unless they look real, and then I don't like them as much.
And you eliminate, you sort of eliminate that uncanny valley.
Yes.
You eliminate the question of, is that real? Do they think that I think that was going to be, that I thought it would be real? And
the vibes are off for me.
I mean, how about for you? Like, when we're thinking just about trustworthiness, like, are there any other than like the visual aspect of the avatar? Is there anything else that kind of plays into it that helps it make it feel more trustworthy to you? Whether it's the voice or the motion of the avatar, anything like that.
It's definitely voice and syncing of voice to lips. Anything that makes it look more real. But I'm with Simon. It's 100% around the context and the topic. That's when they're appropriate or not appropriate. But in terms of genuineness, so if you're looking at an animated avatar and the lips are close to in sync, again, depending on the message, you're probably fine with that. But those more realistic ones, like the baby ones, are just freaky because babies don't talk like that, right? And even if you add a child's voice over it, the pitch of the voice does not align with the age of the baby or whatever. So I'm with Leah on that. That's kind of freaky. The in-person ones, they probably don't bother me as much as, or the lifelike ones, they probably don't bother me as much as they bother Leah. But certainly the more animated ones are fine. But the trustworthiness, I do think, comes down into those little subtle cues and expressions that you can see if it's lifelike or human, and then what they're saying. But in certain ways, we've been using avatars for ages. They're just democratized now. People are going and creating them themselves, whereas once upon a time, as an example with an animated one, you go to someone like Simon and get them to create your character for you and so forth. So it's really kind of where you draw the boundary of what you consider an avatar or not. But effectively, we've been using them for 50, 60, 70 years.
I want to shift the conversation a little bit to more of the implementation side and the technical side. And I know that, Simon, this might be more for Simon and Brent and Tommy in equal parts or different measures there. But Simon, can you tell us a little bit about like, how do they actually work? And like, what's technically hard about implementing them? And then maybe Brent, you could talk about how we put them into the app, and that might just give some other people thoughts for how they want to use avatars as well.
Sure. So I think we this year and probably late last year, probably the landscape of technology around avatars changed, obviously from AI. So where previously there were the tools were probably using like polygons to map a face and then animating it in JavaScript or something. Now everyone I think is using AI models to generate the avatar. So it's on the technical side, it's you've got the sort of rendering aspect. You need to work out how do you produce it in a fast, acceptable amount of time. There's also little technical things. Well, there's also creative questions as well about, what do you do? What do you do for the background? Do you want the background to be real? If I say take a photo of me right now and I throw it into an AI model, it might interpret this as like a handycam footage shot or something, and it might like want to move the camera and like change the angle and stuff while I'm talking. More likely it will do that if I'm like in a subway or, I have a background that kind of warrants that. Or if I'm in a car, it's going to want to make the car drive, and it will have cars behind me like driving and stuff happening in the background. It's a bit of a tangent there, but yeah, so I guess everything's changed with AI models, and now we need to work within what these models want and sort of find the right balance to get the result that we need from it. Sort of, yeah, massive tangent there, but
yeah,
I'd
add to the models. Simon started looking at them very beginning of this year in more like, we're going to put this into a product. And there's been so many models that have come out that are, publicly ones you can kind of pull down from GitHub and test and see what they do well. And they keep evolving to take on harder things of what they're doing. So that's been really cool to kind of play a part in, where all of a sudden we realize you have companies like Synthesia, HeyGen, ID, others that have been, I think, for a decade figuring out how to make this happen. And then all of a sudden there's companies like us that can come in, and they're really at the cutting edge of kind of trying to make things look real. But what we're trying to do doesn't necessitate some of their more kind of bleeding edge stuff. But there was a lot of hard work in them figuring out and pioneering this stuff. And then now the AI models have sort of democratized it a bit. The things that I think, Simon alluded to a bit that are pretty interesting of just like figuring out how to make the product work. So we use lip syncing models where you're feeding it an image and a sound file, some audio file of someone talking. And we're using AI generated audio because it's crisp, and that helps. And we have that in our product as well. But when you feed those together and the model is lip syncing it and making the image move and talk so that it looks natural, right? And we do animated stuff. We have realistic looking people. And as Simon mentioned, like some models want to give all these panning views, some don't, but and that's stuff you have to kind of control. That's trickier. The things that I found fun that we learned along the way is like, you get a model that you feed it the right things and it's like, wow, this looks so good. But then we've had to figure out stuff like, okay, how do you remove the background? Because if you're going to put that in a video, it can't have like a big white square box behind it. And so you've got to do it. And that's interesting because we found stuff like, if you give it a green screen image, when you remove it, it has like a transparent hole in its mouth. So that's not good. And so there's like kind of a lot of those like fun things we've had to figure out, because it's creating teeth and mouth because it's getting an image that doesn't have that, and it has to do that to make it real. And so there's some cool things there. Little things like if you have an avatar that appears in a video scene and immediately starts talking, and when they're done talking, they just freeze. Like that is also not great either. Users don't want that. You need a more natural entry and exit. And so you have to think, you have to figure out with the model, how does it handle that well? How does it get someone to stop talking and sort of have a natural pause and sway? And so those are some of the kind of fun things, but I think it's been pretty cool. There's a lot of providers that work on it. I'd say like, again, Synthesia and HeyGen seem pretty far ahead in terms of the cutting edge stuff. So it's sort of cool to see what are they doing and then what becomes available in other models that we can test out and stuff too.
Like, obviously getting to play with Bitable's initial foray into the avatars. Like, we ran into some of those problems where like the voice, it ended too abruptly or it started too soon, right? For the scene. Were those things when we've adjusted those things, was that tweaking the model based on our own specs, or was that just finding other settings that we just didn't uncover initially?
I mean, the sound stuff was easy. It was getting the model to know that there should be silence at the beginning. So it's like adding a couple seconds or a second of silence. And the model actually just sort of handled that really well. It let the person sort of naturally sway or move. It doesn't have this like frozen vibe to it. So in that one, we kind of got lucky. The model just handles it well. But there's stuff we haven't figured out with a lot of models yet. It doesn't handle animals particularly. Like some do. Some of the newer ones do like pets and like real animals well, but like cartoon animals, like detecting faces, and that we know people want to do. And as like Leah said, and others, like having these animated characters, but having animated animals and people having a company be able to upload their kind of icon that might have a face and have it talk, like that is pretty awesome if you can do that. But that's really hard so far.
Dare I say that one of the very first avatars we produced when we were figuring it out was the baby in a suit.
Kevin, is that his name?
I don't know.
Maybe that's the voice we
He
use.
didn't make it through, but when Tommy was talking about the babies that had scarred him, I was like, that was our
the
guy.
baby. The baby's in the app. You got to scroll all the way down. The baby's the only non-character or whatever that made it. I was thinking Tommy was very upset about. He's like, that's not how babies talk, and I was like, yeah, they're generally used to sort of humor.
That's Kevin.
Kevin's in a suit to try to give you a clue that this is not real.
Classy baby.
Yeah.
That's the only clue he's not real.
Well, and I think a baby in 2025 being called Kevin is pretty unlikely as well. So,
he's a special guy.
Kevin, or if you named your kid Kevin, drop a comment and let us know. Tell Tommy how wrong he is here, I guess.
Tommy's going to get canceled.
People are coming after you, Tommy, for that. All the parents with Kevins out there.
What means my book, The Last Kevin, is redundant, but so far it's been pretty good.
It's an earlier picture of a current Kevin that's an adult.
One of the other one of the other aspects is there's lots of different models. We've kind of gone with a simple approach that at the moment anyway, and this might change, but we will basically give the model one single image for that character, for that avatar. And so we've had to kind of work out like what's the best face expression or face mouth shape. Like, should we show some teeth in that input image? Should it be slightly smiling? But then if it's slightly smiling and someone wants to deliver a serious message, like, does the model cope with that? If we have a completely shut mouth, then the model's going to create its own teeth and its own inside of the mouth, which may be fine for humans, but then for some cartoon characters, it might not get that right. And so that's another thing. What the green screen issue that Brent mentioned, I thought that was interesting because I couldn't work out like why are we getting holes in the mouth and in the eyes, like in the whites of the eyes. I was like, what's going on? And then I was doing a bit of research and like it's all these people online talking about green teeth for live action camera shoots where they've shot out in a sports field, and they're saying like, how do I get rid of the green teeth on this person? And these would be forum posts from like 10 years ago. So kind of what that's kind of struck me, because the AI models are so good that they actually imported a problem from live action film into the AI world. so we're doing techniques that would be done in live action shoots to try to get around the green that AI is going, okay, the background's green, I'm going to take the green, I'm going to throw it on the teeth and the whites of the eyes to make it look real. We're like, no, we want it to be real, but don't go too far. Like,
Far with it.
yeah.
So I know, Simon, you spent a lot of time like building the actual, characters, for the input image for the avatars. And I'm curious, what's something that most people would never notice or they would take for granted that actually makes that input image better than another one?
I think it's lighting for sure. Because we need to, like, if I go and grab someone off the street and I take him into a reasonably well lit office, take a photo of them, the light will look right for that setting. But then if I remove the background and then I throw them on like a bright orange corporate brand color background or something, suddenly they look really dark. And there's light. It's weird because there's light being cast from one side, but it kind of feels like the whole screen is evenly lit because the background's evenly lit. So lighting, definitely a challenge, just to kind of optimize lighting for the most amount of backgrounds and different environments that people are going to use avatars in. Clothing is a challenge because clothing comes back to context, and we've got to think through, what are people going to be using these for? Do we want all of these to be sort of corporate clothing, or do we want them to be casual, somewhere in between? If the clothing has color, how does that impact the background? If they're going to brand the background again, like, is it going to be weird that that character that they like always wears purple, but their brand colors are blue? So basically a lot of balancing going on when creating the characters, balancing like the pose, the lighting, the clothing, and then also like a bit of work on the hair as well. Going back to the green screen issues from live action video, typically like in a live action shoot with green screens, they would be making sure that the actors don't have like little bits of hair like frizzing out, because it'll make the job of cutting out the silhouette of the person really hard. So we just have to make sure of that as well, and kind of optimize the hairstyles for green screen. Yeah.
Brent, like, you spent a lot of time, looking at a lot of the different, other companies you mentioned, Synthesia, HeyGen. I'm curious, are those the only major players doing it today? What makes each one of them unique, and what are the different use cases that you see for their type of avatars versus others?
There's a lot of players. Those two Synthesia, I think I look at as like more of a pioneer in sort of bringing this stuff to market. HeyGen, I don't know if HeyGen's actually much farther behind them in terms of when they started, but Synthesia, based in the UK, HeyGen in San Francisco. Synthesia, from my understanding, a ton of success with corporate training. And I think of that, what's very different from how our customers use avatars is, in corporate training, like, the avatar sort of is the video. Like, it's about the avatar talking and delivering a message for potentially like a long time, or the avatar is the focus. Where in the Biteable, our as we looked at things, the avatar is a piece of content within a message that someone's delivering. And so that they help make a scene or multiple scenes more engaging, but it's not about them. They're not telling you what to do or delivering message. They're sort of helpful content. There's going to be text content, other animated content on screen. So we have to think of it a little bit differently. And as Simon said, in Synthesia, potentially Hey Gen 2 or any of the tools, like you might have an avatar you reuse and you want to have them wear a collared shirt that is a certain color that you can change if you need to mix it up, and you have specific things that you may want to do. And so Synthesia and their feature set have to accommodate that, because again, the character is the video, the core piece of content. And that piece of content might be put in multiple different venues, where for Biteable, it's the avatar is one of many different sources of content you can add to a video. But we don't want the user to have to make that decision. So as Simon has to think through those things. So like the user, we don't really ever want the user to be like, God, I wish their shirt was blue and not this color, where it just sort of works with everything, so that they have enough decisions to make in the course of creating their video. And they might be a newcomer to video, that if all they have to do with the avatar is pick the character they like and then type in the message and pick the accent or voice they want to use, like that's already kind of enough. And having to customize the design, all that kind of stuff is something that is different for us. But again, as you said, like to your question, there are a lot of providers. There's API focused providers. There's more direct to end user providers, that's Synthesia and HeyGens. Like they're good at both of those. And there's new and emerging ones coming kind of every couple months. I see something new pop up too.
Thanks. So I see, I spend a lot of time on YouTube. I have a handful of, real life people that I follow, real people that I follow for a variety of different content. But I'm also starting to see people and channels experimenting with avatars to replace influencers and content creators. Leah, as somebody who I think, you and I spend some time from a marketing perspective putting out social media content and consuming it on our own, right? Do you think that this is a trend that's going to stick, or will people veer away from that over time?
I don't know. I think there's a way to do it that would be interesting. Like people have been doing sort of versions of that for a while, where I can't remember the name of it's like a TikTok channel or something, where the person was completely AI and no one was addressing that it was. And so all of the engagement around it was the fact people were like, wait, is this person real or not? And that was the whole shtick, was they were playing on that. I think if you were like a real company who just didn't want to be in front of the camera and instead you were using a real person looking avatar, I don't know that people would respond that well to that, just in terms of like authenticity. But who knows where it's going? Maybe that's all everyone will do in 10 years from now. Who's to say? I have no idea. I hope not, because I find it creepy as established.
So, Mike, I think the avatars are so good that we already don't know on if you're. I bet there is a ton of stuff that you've looked at in social, probably TikTok, Instagram,
Guarantee it,
that you had no idea was an avatar, and they're only an avatar, and they've created a character. But if you go on some of the provider sites and look at their characters, and you go down to sort of social media styles, it's like the background is a bedroom. It's like it looks very natural. Yeah. And now the lip syncing is so tight and so real on a lot of these things that I think that might be all that this stuff, that 90% of it becomes avatars by people just creating a character that you would never guess until like that becomes an issue. But I think when I'm not on social, particularly those networks very much, but when I saw these, I was like, oh my God, that's why this is so popular. This is like people can run their whole business doing this.
I'll look for the links in the the DMs I share with my son, where I'll send him a video from like Instagram or TikTok. But like, I'll admit, I have been fooled several times where I see a video and I'm like, oh my God, look at this. And he's like, and I'm being totally serious. Like, look at this, whatever, right? And he'll be like, so polite about it. Yeah, it's crazy what AI can do now. And I just have to laugh and be embarrassed about like, I just totally fell for that. Right. So I think that, people will just follow this stuff and not even recognize that it's an AI, initially, or maybe ever, because they are getting really good. Tommy, you have any opinions on that? Or go ahead, Simon.
I'll add to, I think it's harder. Like, I think Leah was talking most like about companies doing it and using it. Like, I think it's harder in some context, right, to pull it off. But if you think of like, if there's an influencer who is just giving hot takes on, people misbehaving in cities, and they're just giving these quick urban takes on something, like, you could never know. And the creator who's giving them the prompts to say and whatever can kind of edit or adjust or not do things that they just look a little bit out of sync. So anyway, I think, but it's getting way better, faster too. Now you're getting full size avatars that are not just sort of upper half of body and all that kind of stuff too.
I think Leah hit the nail on the head. It's about authenticity. When people think they're watching or interacting with a real person and they find out it was AI generated, they feel a bit duped, but mostly because they feel, I guess, stupid. So I think in terms of, is this the way everything's going to go? I tend to think a lot of things move in cycles. So I reckon we're going to go very heavy towards that direction because it's going to be cheaper for businesses. Things are only going to get better and so forth. But then humans adapt and evolve, and we're going to start to notice what is real and what's not a bit more, because the awareness of AI is growing. And then people will want real human interactions again, whether interacting with them or not. But like, are you going to buy something off a brand that is using a human to influence? I mean, one, I disagree with influencers to begin with, so I'm probably the wrong person to be talking to here, right? I hate it as a concept. I hate it. But are you going to buy off a human influencer or an AI influencer? You probably want that authenticity from the human. But in terms of being able to spot it, I think once you know what to look for at the moment, it pops out really quickly because their skin is too perfect. As an example, you can see tricks with light, like Simon talks about. So there's all these little subtle cues that you can suddenly go, oh, that's definitely AI. Once upon a time, they would proudly put it in the handle or in some hashtags or whatever. But now they're trying to hide that a little bit, but you can still tell. It's amazing, don't get me wrong. But I'm like, next.
I think, Tommy, like, and Leah, this authenticity thing, I totally agree. I think if you feel like someone's trying to trick you as the audience, it's just like a disaster. But the thing that I try to wrap my head around is like, what if this podcast was 5 avatars with AI generated content fed from some corpus of data that could actually be like the conversation that we're having, but it was just to create content for someone to listen to? That, to me, I'm just like, I could never imagine there's always that, like, I need it to be real. If it's this synthetic thing, that seems so weird, and I hope it never happens.
So not a fan of the metaverse, then? You like to have legs on your avatars?
I don't care if they have legs. I just need to know that. It's just so weird to think I just want to listen to like what AI thinks would be interesting, and you just, not even if it's not a worry about the truth so much as just there's something strange with that. I couldn't get around to doing it. It's I had at some point in my own reading and a lot of movie watching, I just don't watch as much fiction or read as much fiction because I want to be like learning something, or I feel like it's a waste of time if it's not like some incremental knowledge that I'm getting, even if it's just sports or whatever. It's something with that, or that's stupid, because anytime I do read a fiction book or watch some movie, I'm like, that was awesome. It was a great use of time. Something like listening to an AI generated podcast with avatars, that doesn't seem like a good use of time.
Amazing. All right, let's move to the fun segment. if you had, we'll go around the room. We'll start with Simon. If you had to use an avatar to represent yourself for the next 6 months, would you choose a lifelike avatar of yourself, cartoon, or something else entirely?
Cartoon, absolutely. Yeah, I just think it's fun. It kind of instantly people kind of get it. You're not trying to trick anyone. What would that cartoon version look like? Maybe it's a caricature. Maybe I'm kind of poke fun at myself or something. It'll have glasses, obviously, and yeah, but it'll also be really handsome as well. So,
Of course, it goes without saying.
Yeah.
Leah, how about you?
I'm gonna choose the baby in a suit just to unsettle Tommy in every meeting that we have together. And maybe if I could just be that for the rest of the podcast as well, I would enjoy that. The baby will clock
Right.
in instead of me.
That's going to happen.
Yeah, please.
Well, the joke's on you. I've already been doing it for the last 6 months. This is not me. I'm currently in my backyard having a cup
He's on a
of tea.
beach.
he's in his 70s.
Well, at the moment, with the bags under my eyes, I feel that way. Well, I could probably use any kind of human. Here in Tasmania, we have a show called Crime Stoppers, and any description matches me, like my height, my weight, my brown hair, brown eyes, my skin tone. I'm the most generic person going around. But whenever there is this description, it's just like, I get messages from friends. It's like, hey, were you at the Pizza Hut on Clarence Street on Saturday night? No, why? Oh, it was robbed. And so, like, there's all these things. And I have a backpack that had a bit of yellow on it, and some guy that, in my description, with a yellow backpack had done something on a rivulet walk. And I was like, no, I was on this side of the river at that time, and my bag's not yellow. It just has yellow on it. So I could get away with any human. But I think to speak to that authenticity and not to be a hypocrite, despite the fact that I've tricked you for the last 6 months already, I would probably go like Simon as well and go some sort of cartoon character. But I think it'd be awesome if you could, obviously if they weren't copyright owned, you could just pick superheroes and things like that just to be you for that 6 months. That would be cool. I'd go Lego, some sort of Lego man.
Nice.
Yeah, I definitely I do it a lot anyway, and I go sort of closest-ish, cartoonish one. I find that I kind of want to mix it up a lot, but once you pick one, you kind of like, if it looks less like you, it's weird. You either have to mix it up really like from the beginning, but if you start using one, you're kind of like stuck to it, and it's not that great either.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the green alien to come back. We had a green alien, everybody. That was
Green
in
screen doesn't
development.
handle the green alien.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, I know, but we just
Yeah.
don't. We can optimize this image, this cartoon character, right? I just need the green alien, right?
You might get a
So,
blue alien. I know you're not getting a green
That's fine.
alien.
I want alien. I don't care what the color is. Just give me an alien.
I have a
Give me an
suggestion for you, Mike.
Yeah.
In the early seasons of South Park, I think it's aliens came to visit, and they took on a form that was the least frightening to the people of South Park, and it was a taco that pooped ice cream. Have you thought about maybe doing that?
No, but I think we have to do that now. So we need that avatar in the app. Let's go.
I tried it, but the face detection, it's a problem.
Just didn't work.
Shame.
Nice. All right. Well, we can wrap this up. Whether you love them or you hate them or you haven't quite made up your mind, I think avatars, they're definitely changing how we communicate, especially for small teams that are trying to do big things. Huge thanks to Simon for joining us today and pulling back the curtain a little bit on what the process of bringing these avatars to life. If you enjoyed this episode, give us a follow, maybe tell a friend. And if you are listening as an avatar, let us know, because that would be something. We'll catch you next time on B-Roll.
Make scroll-stopping videos in seconds. No editing skills, no creative team. Biteable AI scripts, storyboards, and builds your videos for you. Add voices, avatars like me, and more. It's all one click away. Instant videos. Limitless scale.
Thanks, everybody.